Pleasant good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining the African Caribbean Institute of Jamaica Memory Bank's monthly seminar series. I am Kisio Weiss, one of the researchers at the African Caribbean Institute of Jamaica, and I am your host for today's Curating Culture. Now, the ACIJ-JMB's seminar series, as it used to be called, has always been an important engagement tool, and hopefully some of you who have joined us in the past participated in some of those seminars hosted at our office or in the lecture hall at our head office at the Institute of Jamaica. For those of you who are joining for the first time and would like to learn more about the history of the institution, please be sure to check out our article in the September 10, 2023 issue of the Jamaica Observer. It is also accessible online. As this is the year of our 50th anniversary, we are going back to early foundation by holding these seminars monthly. As usual, the series provides an avenue for us to share with you what we are doing and a forum for other researchers and cultural practitioners. This latest series is called Curating Culture, and I am pleased to introduce my colleague, Ms. Marcia Hall, who is the first presenter in the series. You should recall Ms. Hall from the hybrid seminar on interrogating Kumina in June of this year, which was a resounding success. Ms. Hall joined the ACIJ-JMB family last year. Her work involves documentation of Jamaica's intangible cultural heritage and making presentations on Caribbean and African history and culture to primary, secondary, and tertiary institutions. She also acts within the capacity of a consultant to researchers on Jamaican folk culture and is the holder of a master's degree in Middle Eastern Studies from the Middle East Technical University in Turkey. A cultural connoisseur, Ms. Hall lived and traveled extensively across West and East Africa for several years and has been a delegate at several international conferences. Her presentation today is titled To the World, Celebrating Cultural Diversity Through UNESCO's International Days. I'm going to hand over to Ms. Hall now, but please remember to interact with us in the comments.
Thank you so much, Ms. Weiss, for such a pleasant introduction. It is quite comforting when one gets to be introduced by their supervisor. Well, at least for me, it's a big deal. Equally, it is also a big deal to welcome our audience online, and this extends to colleagues of the African Caribbean Institute of Jamaica, Jamaica Memory Bank, and the various divisions across the Institute of Jamaica. Welcome, bienvenue a tous, bienvenido, bienvenidos, merhaban. I am pleased to be the first speaker for this seminar series, Curating Culture, setting the stage for other brilliant speakers, but also for the sheer pleasure of introducing a very straightforward and uncomplicated presentation. So let me begin with To the World, Celebrating Diversity Through UNESCO's International Days. Despite the numerous global socio-cultural dynamics and the challenges of interactions between states at times, it is important to understand that structured cooperation is a core feature between countries. The similarities rather than differences in humanity have changed notably in this millennium, leading to inspired global inclusion reflected in the significance of international days. What are international days, you may wonder? These are days in the calendar that have been designated by the United Nations through resolutions to highlight issues and themes of critical global importance to people and the planet. And resolutions are simply decisions or declarations voted on by all member states of the United Nations General Assembly and adopted by the General Assembly. Tasked with these arrangements of the commemorative days is the Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, commonly referred to by its acronym UNESCO, a specialized agency of the UN, launching various programs in recognition of international days. UNESCO's active participation is a powerful and effective advocacy tool to mobilize governments, citizens, private sectors, public institutions, and civil society in global partnership, while centering attention on urgent global issues of education, culture, and the sciences. No doubt you'll hear the word recognition repeatedly throughout this presentation, and the reason for this is that recognition is an integral part to creating diversity across global communities. Each International Day is an opportunity for all stakeholders to not only observe, but organize activities and raise awareness related to a specific theme of the month that echoes global or regional significance. This seminar presentation is about sharing the importance of celebrating diversity through UNESCO's International Days as hallmarks for ideals and values in an evolving world. Now, it is no secret that societies globally are becoming increasingly diverse, without this becoming a catch-22 phrase, but one that has led to continuous recognition and celebration of what makes world cultures unique. In pursuit of improving the world in which we live, UNESCO continues to send a clear signal that various aspects of human lives and history are important, worth telling and remembering. In these memories, International Days represents salient opportunities for nations, particularly those formerly on the periphery, to share parts of their history, culture, and achievements inclusively, which somewhat levels the field. Having a global platform to sustain initiatives, UNESCO finds innovative means to strengthen and celebrate the human spirit and preservation of intangible and tangible cultural heritage, while respecting the contributions of individuals who have in the past promoted cultural ideals while respecting the earth and people locally and globally. So these international days can be either initiated at the regional level and the global level. So I like to term it the glocal. Yet international days should not be perceived as focusing only on people, but also key events, languages, the environment, and other intangibles, thereby forming a collective spirit, an engagement which helps us to understand and appreciate the world that we all share. It is therefore not difficult to see how inextricably linked we are as human beings while retaining our identities and ethos. With this in mind, let us discuss the important theme of this seminar, diversity. So what is diversity and why does it matter? Diversity is of key importance in unlocking a fair and equitable world for everyone. However, it must be sustained by people's abilities to appreciate the inherent differences that we as human beings possess. For certain public and private institutions or organizations and marginalized groups, for them in particular, diversity promotes visibility. Nowadays, everybody wants to be seen, and we know that there are various social media platforms on which persons can make themselves visible. But it's even better when we have this as a coordinated effort. And so gives voices that would otherwise not be audible a chance to create conscious, meaningful conversations. Through meaningful dialogue, far above the political, and mobilize people as change agents, UNESCO enacts these international days. So we move above the political foray, the noise, and we focus on people and key events. Even in the face of limited resources, as we know, economically, diversity should be prioritized in efforts to advance sustainable development agendas and contribute towards the global collective. Additionally, it must be mentioned, though briefly, that we cannot underscore the role of social media in the observation of international days, particularly during the connectivity and dissemination process. These media outlets such as Twitter, now known as X, Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, and TikTok, have allowed for different forms of communication and connection with people from different backgrounds, nationalities, and ages. When used intentionally to find commonalities and shared responsibility to solve problems in new ways, social media is an effective and influential tool. And by now, you all are aware of that. This is why diversity is important in the celebration of international days, as it takes into consideration systemic issues that simultaneously force us to take action in addressing these systemic barriers. Furthermore, diversity fosters human exchanges in the context of shared interaction, knowledge, and appreciation for the traditional and not so traditional, so to speak. It is a matter of reshaping our thoughts and embracing a world where everyone has a seat at the table, and in Jamaican parlance, where everybody can eat a food. So, how does the ACIJ JMB support and promote diversity during international days? As a division of the Institute of Jamaica, the ACIJ JMB is keen on amplifying the voices of communities, specifically those representing Jamaica's intangible cultural heritage, and highlighting the invaluable memories of people who have and continue to contribute towards a better world. Through UNESCO's International Days, the ACIJ JMB serves a national and global interest to educate the public and create conversations around commemorative themes and experiences coherently. For example, those of us who are familiar with the Institute's website, and those who are new, we implore you to visit and kindly connect. You may have seen various blog posts written by research officers, some thematic and others originating from independent scholarly research. It would have been obvious that the articles titled UNESCO International Day are guided by those observances evinced in African World Heritage Day, which is observed on May 5th, International Day for the Remembrance of the Slave Trade and its Abolition, observed on August 23rd, World Day for the Cultural Diversity, observed May 21st, International Day for Biological Diversity, observed May 22nd, International Day for the Conservation of Mangrove Ecosystems, July 26th, and World Audiovisual Heritage, which will be observed October the 27th, among others. These are all complementary to the work performed at the ACIJ JMB, and two of these days are referenced there. First, the International Day for the Remembrance of the Slave Trade and its Abolition, observed annually on August 23rd. This day is commemorated to the memory of human lives lost, distinctly Africans, to the inhumane system of slavery and numerous societies still haunted by such legacies. From this perspective, the African Caribbean Institute of Jamaica, Jamaica Memory Bank, is vocal on global issues and has over the years embarked on informing and sensitizing educational institutions, private organizations, students, visitors, and the general public through its rich archives, exhibitions, lecture series, seminars such as Curating a Culture, and our social media platforms about the systematic roots of the slave trade and the remnants still with us today. On the second point of reference, and on a much lighter or softer tone, or should I say environmentally conscious, is the International Day for Conservation of Mangrove Ecosystem, observed on July 23rd annually. This is quite interesting given the current location of the Institute's office and proximity to Port Royal, home to amazing mangrove forest. These are wetland that lines and protects Jamaica's coastline, including the breathtaking Kingston Harbor here in downtown. Furthermore, perhaps not many Jamaicans are aware that the Jamaican government has designated and granted status to certain areas along the Palisades Strip as protected areas. Now, persons may view these mangroves as nuances due to their thick foliages, but in reality, mangroves hold significant social and economic value in protecting and sustaining the lives and livelihood of citizens across the coast, along the coast. International Day draw attention to people-centered and environmental issues that in a fast-paced world may be unconsciously overlooked. But let us remind ourselves that people-centered issues include the celebratory, in case there are any perceptions that everything is solemn and negative. But there is joy to bask in, such as World Portuguese Day, for those of you who are interested in learning more about the Portuguese language. World Teachers Day, International Youth Day, and I'm sure there are many youths online watching. International Jazz Day for the musicians in us, and many more. Consequently, we should view the days as springboards for continuous global dialogue and the development of relevant topics to protect, promote, and implement for the betterment of the human conditions. In concluding, International Days affirm that we see through the lenses of other people, and from this, we develop a different level of empathy, tolerance, and inclusion. It is necessary that as an institution, we amplify the voices of people, past and present, show respect for culture, and continue to take action towards creating an environment for peaceful and productive discourses. As we continue to celebrate diversity through UNESCO's International Days in all expressions and forms, let us challenge our beliefs, ideas, or prejudices to enable mutual understanding and foster resilience through diversity in society at all levels. Thank you.
And thank you very much, Ms. Hall. I'm sure our audience has been quite enriched by that presentation. We don't have any comments, but we do have commendations in our chat. So, I do have, where's my question? Yes, I have a question here.
I knew that was coming.
My question is it mandatory for countries to observe each international days?
From my knowledge, and it is not mandatory, but in the spirit of humanity and respect and diversity, inclusion and tolerance, member states of the United Nations are expected to observe these. I don't think not every country on this planet are members of the UN, so in cases where other countries are not members, perhaps they do not feel the need to observe these days, and they're not forced to by UNESCO or the United Nations, as a matter of fact.
Okay, great. All right, we should actually say that ACIG has actually enjoyed quite a long and fruitful relationship with UNESCO, even before we were formally recognized as a focal point for safeguarding intangible cultural heritage that is in keeping with UNESCO's ICH Convention of 2003. And on that note, I should take the opportunity to remind everyone that this year actually marks the 20th anniversary of the convention, of that particular convention, and ACIG will actually be mounting a revival exhibition, Journeying Revival Iconography, later this month, and it will be officially launched in November. So please stay tuned to our social media and website for more exciting information about that and other things that are happening at this small but quite Talawa institution. All right, let me check again. We don't have any more questions.
But I just want to say that the international days are really celebratory. Persons may think that it always has to be a solemn occasion, as I mentioned.
Right.
But for example, how many persons knew that Jamaica conserves or the mangrove system, or that UNESCO had designated a special day for that? I mean, jazz music as well, World African Heritage Day, World Arabic Day for those who are interested in learning different languages. So it's a plethora of days. These are so every country gets to shine. Every culture has a seat at the table, and they're recognized on a global platform. So I think that they're very unique to each culture, and we get to learn more about different places around us, because we live in a global village at this moment. As I mentioned, social media is very important to these international days, and continuing the dialogue even long after we have completed observation or commemoration of these international days.
Okay, and we have another question now from Ms. Williams. Are there any initiatives that have been initiated to protect the mangroves?
Of course. As I mentioned, the Jamaican government has designated specific areas as protected areas. They've been given protective status, so to speak. So along the Palisadal Strip, along Port Royal, further out onto the various keys, the mangroves are actually protected. And they do perform an environmental duty. They're not just these thick foliages, as I mentioned, but they protect the coastline from soil erosion. They protect even the environment when we have flooding, as we are prone to along this side of the world. So yes, we do have special protected status for these areas.
Oh, wonderful. All right, so we have
just to include that, I think the National History Museum of Jamaica, they would have a lot of information on the mangrove system, the mangrove ecosystems.
Yes, true. All right, so from Journeying of a Sister now, she says, thank you for the information, Marsha. Is the UN or UNESCO for the betterment of Jamaica, the Caribbean, or our motherland?
Well, that is a very loaded question. But I think so far, given our interaction with UNESCO in particular, as Ms. Weeza mentioned, we have worked with them on various issues across the board, and they have been very supportive to the Institute of Jamaica and the African Caribbean Institute of Jamaica Memory Bank in particular, in preserving and conservation of Jamaica's intangible cultural heritage.
All right. So where else can they find information about these celebratory activities?
Oh, if they go to the UNESCO's website, there's a list of international days every month of the year. Right down from January to December, you will find various days in recognition of international days. Just go to www.unesco.org and all the information are available.
And from time to time, we will be highlighting as well on
And
our
also,
website articles.
As mentioned, right, thank you for that, Miss Weeze, and my production. Yes, we have a full studio here, guys. So if you go to our website, where us researchers, Miss Weeze being the senior research fellow, she omitted that, I don't know why. So you could go to that website and find our articles. And as I mentioned, some of them are from independent research, others are from UNESCO's International Days list.
All right. That brings us to the end of the first Curating Culture. Please remember that Curating Culture will be live on the first Thursday of every month. So we hope to see you there. Walk good, and as always, may good duppy follow you.